Hello, good evening, people. Hello, people. And I'm back with Let's Uncork with Lovely Gupta once again with a new guest. Hello, Mr. Arun, Mr. Lokesh, Mr. Manoj, Bachu, 568, Suraj Chaudhary. I'm very well, thank you. Thank you so much for all your compliments and love, people. Yeah, आप कहाँ से हो? मैं इंडिया से हूँ. So by now you must. Hello, Mr. Rakesh. So I really have a bad day, bad hair day rather. Good evening. यहाँ follow करना मना है. So yeah, it's already 9 and I am going to. Are you a reporter? Which media house? I am working independently right now. So yeah, my guest will be here in a moment or two, and by this time you must all be knowing that my guest is the Arvind Parashar, right? The author of all times, the author of youth, the author of a person with whom I and you and I, we all can connect to. And I was very much impressed reading his first book, but at the very same time, I'm looking forward to read many of his books. So Mr. Arvind, if you're here, please kindly join so that actually we can connect you with my viewers. I'm here. Hi. Okay, I'll take you live then. I've already sent you an invitation, Mr. Arvind. Kindly accept that and please join us live. And now we cannot wait to see you. I am from India. I cannot say more than that. So please stop asking me, kaha se ho, kaha se ho. This is not at all my personal account. Arvind ji, can you get up? Yeah. So here we go. I think.
Hi, am I visible now? Hi,
Yes.
lovely.
Good evening. Hello, Mr. Arvind Parashar. Very much welcome to Let's Uncork with Lovely Gupta.
Thank
So
you.
how are you?
I'm good. Thank you. Not bad for the evening today. It's a Friday. Wonderful here. Thanks for inviting me over.
Actually, so my last weekend was all about this.
Yeah, thank you. I saw your posts. It was awesome, and loved all your posts and especially the music in the background with the book. Yeah, it was nice.
Right.
Hope you enjoyed reading it.
Actually, Definitely. Otherwise, I wouldn't have done the book review because I read many a books, but I review only a few which
Thank
actually
you.
personally I
I'm
liked it.
grateful. Thank you.
So,
Hi, everyone. I know there are
so
a lot of people who are
Arvind,
joining, so hello to everyone.
एग्जैक्टली सो मिस्टर अरविंद बिफोर लाइक मैंने आपको बहुत कुछ पढ़ा आपके बारे में गूगल की आपसे पर्सनली भी बहुत बातचीत की बट फॉर माय व्यूअर्स हु इज द अरविंद पराशर
A boy next door. I still call myself a boy. You know,
ओके
I believe, when you're creative, when you're into writing, when you're artistic, when you're into painting, and you live in a beautiful place like Dehradun, uh, you tend to be living a lot of characters in one, So if I go in a different direction, if I talk philosophically, then Arvind Parashar is a combination of many shades, because I live a lot of characters, when I write my novels. But then
एग्जैक्टली
out of that mode, I am like any other normal person, who is fond of writing as a profession, and that's what I am. And of course, I'm sure through you, a lot of people would know me today, in case they wish to.
Exactly. Mr. Arvind, if I ask you about your background, you have been into corporate world. So leaving that corporate world and getting into full-time writing, how easy or how difficult it was for you?
Yeah, I mean, it is. Writing has always been there, and a lot of my, colleagues, ex-colleagues, and friends, in fact, they got a shock when they got to know I have quit my corporate world, and I've gone to full-time writing. Of course, writing is.
And it is not an easy call to take. To be very honest, at the first place, it is not at all easy to take that call.
Yeah, but then it's better to take that call at some point. I took
Okay.
it. I took it judiciously. I mean, I've done. There were a couple of times I took career break and then decided finally that this is it. I cannot writing aside and work. So and it's very difficult, honestly speaking, to balance both. So and what happens, lovely, is when there are so many stories and everybody, when there are so many stories that you want to write, that compelling factor is there. If you're a one book author, that is fine. You can work and you can write. But when you know that you have to write lot of books, and I still have a lot of books to write, then it is difficult to pursue, everything. It's not easy, humanly not possible.
Mhm.
Yeah. Therefore,
So, looking, yes, Mr. Parashar, I was pleasantly surprised that your first book was published in 2015, and by 2021, you already have a total of 8 into your kitty. So, that is not an easy part to do. So, how did you manage? I mean, it is not even 7 years and 8 books overall.
yeah, two are translated into Hindi, and I'm so
Yeah.
grateful to the publisher. That it's translated into Hindi as a language. So overall, yes, from my end, the effort was more on 6 books. The two that were in Hindi were translated by some other author, by the publisher. Uh, so yes, 6 books in 7 years. Um, I think it's an average of one per year, so it's okay. You can do that, provided and my first book took me more time.
I'll just interrupt you, Mr. Arvind. Someone has written just now. Just wanted to know you that your
Hemant,
follower is
sorry.
now pilot.
Hey,
Some
congratulations,
yeah.
Hemant. Yes, Hemant has been reading all my books, and I'm very
Oh
grateful.
wow.
Yes, yes, I remember my readers, and he and I are connected. Congratulations, that's so good to know. Wonderful.
Exactly. So coming to you again, 6 books plus 2 translations.
6 books in 7 years. I mean, rough average. One per
Hmm.
year, right? Ballpark. I think it's okay. It's doable. A couple of them I wrote when I was working. Uh, in fact, 3 I wrote when I was working, and the other 3 I
Hmm.
wrote when during my break. So yes, that's all. So I think it's okay. It's doable if you are really intending to do.
Right. Arvindji, writing is something which personally even I do a lot, but getting into the zone of best publisher, getting into the zone of best selling books, that is definitely a cherry on the cake.
Yeah, it's trust me, it's been a lot of struggle. It's been tough, But then it started with my first book when I saw it on Crossword bestsellers list for 10 weeks. Then Smith, for a lot of weeks on number one. And then you see very, very, very famous authors, next to you. So you feel really good that you are their neighbor, on the bookshelf. It's yeah, it's been, and I think all thanks to my readers and my publisher, for loving my work. Without readers, I mean, I'm nobody. So I think it is a lot to do with, because reading a book is a lot to do with word of mouth, right? You liked it and you talked about it. If you don't like it, you won't say anything about the book, right? So uh, even
Exactly,
as
exactly.
even as kids when we were growing, right? We wouldn't when we would read a book, we would friends would take it, right? Or you would give it to them because it's a good book. And in those days, it was difficult to find a lot of books in the stores. Now it's all a lot of books are available online, so everything is so accessible. But I'm talking about the times when we were
Exactly.
studying. Books would only be found in library or in very specific bookstores, right? Today they are more accessible. So yeah, all thanks to everybody else, and yeah.
So if I look into your childhood, how was that? You were a bookworm. Were you a bookworm, or were you always studious? Or what type of character do I imagine a little Arvind
No,
like?
I honestly I was not much into academics. Uh, but the good thing about me was that if I read something, I would remember. Um, and I think that thing came from my habit of reading books, a lot of books. So when I was growing as a child, I used to read a lot of books. And I think that probably was because when I when I started going to school, at home I would see almost like a library at home, So I as a child I would read a lot of books, so that helped. And because of that habit, I developed good memory because of reading books. There are a lot of good things that came, and hence, if I would study, it was easy for me to remember concepts. But I was not much into academics. Honestly, I hated school books, but I loved novels, over school books. Still,
But still, you were
still I
quite
studied.
successful in your corporate life.
Yeah, yeah. Still I studied. Yes, still I studied. You know.
Hmm.
So that's
Right.
all. But yes, I mean it's important to definitely pursue education and then do anything else,
Hmm.
right? So I planned everything well, and hence I was able to even take a bit goodbye to my corporate life because I planned it well in that case.
So, Arvind, if I talk about your basic daily life, how is your life like? How much do you write every day, or is it a target that you give yourself कि मुझे इतना ही लिखना है per year? I want to at least give one book to my audience. So, how is your day-to-day life? Is it a routine? Is it a timetable, or you write whenever you feel like?
I write whenever I feel like, and sometimes I don't write at all.
Okay.
I think more.
Oh.
I think more. It's more about dreaming and imagination than honestly, writing on a piece of paper. Uh, if you are able to think more, if you are able to imagine more, writing is an easier task. Honestly speaking, writing is more about thinking, right? So I keep dreaming and thinking throughout the day. uh, and people who are along with me might just wonder what am I into, right? Or what am I doing? Or I might be painting because I love painting, or traveling,
Mhm.
Uh, but I keep doing something, I'm never sitting idle, to be very honest.
So basically, you are very creative by nature.
Yes, of course. When you are into painting and when you are into writing, that's creating something. So yeah, that's been there, and that's been there since childhood. Though I picked, writing novels quite.
Okay. Arvindji, the very common in for all your books is like it's always about romance, it's always about thriller, it's always about to do with relationships. To be very crystal clear, it's all about relationships. Why the basic is all about love and romance? Why the outline or what should I say? The base is always the romance, the relationship part. Why is it so?
So far, yes. So far, yes. You're right. Absolutely right. That's a good question. So yeah, relationship is something which I believe, uh, which of course we know that it's common, right? It's the most common factor in all our lives. Yeah, it could be a relationship with friends, your spouse, your boyfriend, girlfriend, or your parents or siblings, right? It's something which is uniform. Crime might not be uniform, right? Or drama might not necessarily be uniform, but relationship is something we live every day. Uh, so when, and that's my forte also. So I've 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 had this nature of observing people very closely, and I've had great friend circle. I have great relationships with my siblings, with my relatives, with my friends. Uh, that's how I have been, So when I write, what can you write? You can write whatever your subconscious strikes you to write, right? I mean, that's what you can do. If I can't write horror, I can't write horror. You know, no matter how much uh, scared I get, right? But then I cannot think of it. So I would not work hard on horror at all. But relationships, I have had my set of luck in relationships, like I said. So it's probably an easier one for me to do, to delve into, than trying something which I can't. And those are the stories that come to my mind, right? Like you said, thrillers. I don't want. I don't believe in writing cheesy romance novels. I don't, because I cannot think of those stories. I love thriller, uh, and therefore I can think of suspense, mystery. But that happens in our life also, right?
And in many of your books, you have mentioned it is inspired by true incidents. It is inspired by personal life. So many a times I've read that also
Yes,
somewhere in the
yes,
synopsis.
especially the trilogy, that I had written, Messed Up But All
Mhm.
for Love, Lost in Love, and All You Need Is Love. It has inspiration from my real life. You're right. And the last one, which is Not Without Your Love, that's based on true story, not mine, but somebody else's. And that's fine. And it's more relatable, right? Because hota hai, we've had share of heartbreaks, right? It's something which is common, relatable. Yeah.
So at present, what do we get to know? Is Mr. Parashar with love or without love?
Always in love. Of
Always in love.
course.
uh, do we also acknowledge the fact that you have been born and brought up in Dehradun? So love and romance is always in the climate of this wonderful city.
Sorry, I think there was some network blip. I couldn't get it. Your question.
I repeat myself. Do we also acknowledge the fact that you have been born and
Yeah.
brought up in Dehradun, and Dehradun has all those positive, lovely
Of
vibes?
course, of course. You're so right. Absolutely. It's amazing, Dehradun is a beautiful valley. And it's 8 degrees temperature right now. It's cold, and I love it. It's pleasant for us. Lush green mountains. It's at the foothills of Himalayas. Yeah, everything is so accessible here. When you plan hills, uh, and I love it. And it's nice. It's pollution free. No smog, nothing. So we don't get fog here
If
in Dehradun. What else do you want, right? I mean, you've spent your childhood in such a weather. Such a Ask anybody who's from hills, they would have the same opinion. It's simple. It's
even
a
I
simpler
love
life.
Dehradun. I've been, yeah, even I love Dehradun. So, what next, Mr. Parashar? What do we get to know the nearest future? What is the next book or what is the next write up coming from you?
Yes, you can expect. I'm still dabbling with a couple of choices. You can either expect a crime thriller, or you can expect a pure love story. Based on my life. my life, because
Oh, wow.
I've never written my love story. But you can expect. It depends. There are certain plots I'm working on. Let's see what excites publishers the most. But once I table, I will get to know which one we are going with. But they're all in the
Hmm.
works. Yeah, that's all you can expect.
So what advice would you like to give to the budding writers or the people who want to make a career in writing?
Yes, keep writing. First of all, you got to write. I think what we sometimes what we do is, and I've seen this question often, even personally in my inboxes, that how do we become a writer? And you've not even written. So how can you become a writer? You have to first write. That is the most important part. You first finish a book. And then if your question is that how do we write a book? Uh, if you're a reader, if you've been reading a lot of books, you certainly can write a book. That's what I feel. Or if you're fond of watching films, if you're creative, if you can construct a plot, of course you can write. There's no technical education. Yeah, it's a simple stuff. You gotta have a conflict, you gotta have protagonist. It's a simple concept. Yeah. So that's most important. You got to write and be disciplined about writing. Uh, Unless you get to a level wherein you can write on the go. Once you're a professional, then it then
Mm-hmm.
all you need is a good storyline and a plot. But once you're writing your first book, you will have so many draft versions. You'll go crazy because you won't remember what you have written. If you have taken 8 months, think about it. You have written 300 pages, and then in 8 months, right? In seventh month, 8th month, you might not even remember what you have written on those pages. It's possible. So that, but you got to go through that struggle, right? If you don't go through that struggle, if you don't
Mm-hmm.
know what the process is, then you're not doing justice to yourself. So first go through a process. Then you would have the right set of questions. That I've got stuck here.
Mm-hmm.
Got to experience that journey yourself to be able to know those answers in first place. That's my uh, guidance to everybody who wants to become a writer.
Sir, you have written so many books. There are so many characters in each book. Who is your personal favorite with whom you are inspired by?
No, it's all momentary. Trust me. When I was
Oh, it's all
yeah, yeah,
momentary.
when I was writing, and it's crazy sometimes. When I was writing my first book, trust me, I began to feel like Kabir, and that book took me 1 year to write because there was
Oh.
a lot of research in it. Uh, and I began to feel like that character because I was so much into Kabir that I felt that probably I am this guy, right? But I was not. And then I moved on to my next book. Then I was writing Neil. You know,
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes my readers come back to me and say, "You look like Neil." So they've imagined Neil as a character, and especially people who are very close to me. Yeah, those who know me, they always say that you are probably Neil, and then they will say that you resemble Kabir. So a character brings certain shades or elements of your own personality at times. You can't really say that this is your favorite character. That's up to the readers. I would rather say that.
Right, right.
Yeah, maybe when I'm writing my next book, then that character is my favorite. But that's it. We keep moving on.
Hmm. Mr. Parashar, before I wind up, I would like you to give me a message rather for my viewers. In these times when relationship is like breaking, like in a moment or two, breakups, hookups, and hiccups also these days. So, what advice would you want the youth to follow, or rather to? Because I have seen in your books, I have seen in your stories that you always restore somehow here or there with faith, and you restore our faith, you restore our hope. So, what advice would you want to give today's generation, the generation X, Y, Z, whichever is applicable, to be specific about their relationships, and why is it not beneficial, to break your relationship that can be actually repaired? Because these days it is very quick for people to just break and move on.
Well, all I can say is, and everybody is smart, One thing I want to tell you, no matter what you say, people, whatever in a relationship, and that's the most interesting part. Like they say for love, right? When you fall in love, you'll fall in love, no matter what. People around, your friends might say, "Hey, don't fall in love with the person," right? We have seen this, we have heard these things, more often. But somebody who has to fall in love with, still fall in love with that person, will still continue the relationship, right? The Sometimes parents give an advice, no, no, she's not the right girl or he's not the right guy, right? We have heard these things. Now, if I say something, I mean, come on, nobody's gonna listen to me. It's just an advice. But what I think is, what I really think is that either you get into a relationship or you don't get into a relationship. But once you get into a relationship, then try to make sure that you make it work. You know, keep trying to make it work, because once it breaks, and if you are really in love, then at some point it's gonna really hurt you very bad. That's what I can tell you. And then you're gonna regret and feel that, why the heck did I
Ah,
not, why the heck did I not? And a lot of my books have all these beautiful quotes and nice quotes. And a lot of you will say that, why the heck did I not stop at that time? So that's single most thing. If you are in love, then remain in love with that person throughout the life. There is no way that you can leave that person. And
but Mr. Parashar, don't you think if we compare to the generation with our parents, like they belong to that generation who believe in repairing and reworking. But these days people do more with that calculation, give and take. That calculation part is more than the love part.
see, in our parents' age, communication was very different. The family setup was very different. Remember, okay? There was no social media. There were Today people have access to a lot of more people than in those days, right? In those days, you were limited to your college or school and all that, right? Today, you've got unlimited ventures and venues, and you socialize a lot. What happens is, plus, you got in those days you had your brother living with you, your cousins and all, right? The joint family setup was quite predominant. Somebody or the other will give you a slap, right? If you're married and you plan to leave your wife or your husband, right? Somebody is going to make sure that you don't do that, because there was so much pressure. There was external pressure. So I don't know, honestly speaking, if relationships were between the couple, if it was still great, maybe not, right? But maybe they were compelled to live together. The basic premise is, what I'm trying to say is that, as a couple, no matter in this era or next era or previous era, if you're together, then you should try to make it work. That's all. Because for the society to be together, there's a difference, right? But for you to be really together, there's a difference. So I would rather want people to work on being together, really together, right? Not for the society. Of course, but then the good thing in those days used to, it's a good question, was that when society would bind you and make sure that you're still together, eventually you would make it work, right? Because you have no choice. The moment you get choices, you have an option, right? You'll say, oh, that is better, than this, and you don't know what you're getting into. My belief is, if you
Right.
really, if it is true love, if you have really loved somebody, I don't think you should really look at options then. Otherwise, it's all fake, as good as reading any fiction book.
All right, Mr. Arvind, with that the positive note, I would like to wrap this live. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming in Let's Uncork with Lovely Gupta. And I'm really looking forward for your next book very, very soon.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hopefully we meet you. Hopefully I meet you in person very soon. That too also I'm just crossing my fingers.
Sure. If I come to Kolkata, certainly I'll let you know. Because of pandemic, the travels have gone down. But I'll see
Definitely.
if I can really physically launch, because my Kabira was launched in Kolkata. But then
Right, right, right.
thanks to your viewers, for taking out time at this hour and joining. Probably next
All
time we
right,
can
sir.
take questions if they have. But thank you so much, Lovely, for your time.
Definitely, I'm going to mail you whatever the
Surely.
DMs I get it
Sure.
today. I'll just mail you in a day or two.
Sure.
Thank you, sir.
Take
Thank you
care.
so
Thank
much.
you. Good
So
night.
this,
Yeah.
thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.
Good
Bye.
night.
Bye.
So yeah, this was Mr. Arvind Parashar, the renowned author, and the story books. There are many best-selling story books available at Amazon. You can go to Crosswords, you can go to any bookstore, and you will find his books for sure. So इस बीच नेक्स्ट वीक मैं आपसे फिर से मिलूंगी विद एक नए गेस्ट के साथ. नेक्स्ट गेस्ट कौन है ये तो अभी बता नहीं सकती हूँ मैं. तो इस बीच पूरे वीक मेरे रील्स देखिएगा, मेरे वीडियोस देखिएगा, और कोई भी क्वेश्चंस हो, कोई भी सजेशन हो, मुझे डीएम कीजिए या मेल कीजिए letsuncork@lovelygupta@gmail.com पर. तब तक के लिए दीजिए इजाजत. देखते रहिए मेरे रील्स एंड